Yes. Hello, viewers. Can you hear me? Yes, I
Hello.
want to believe you can hear me. Yeah, hello, how
Yes,
are
I
you today? I
can.
hope you can hear me now. Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
clearly.
It's good to have you here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello, viewers. Yeah, here we have Mentors&MINT Show with the Benson. And it's good to have all of us here. And then we have our guest today. However, this is our Monday episode where we dissect topical business issues. Um, However, it will interest us all to know that the global haulage business has been measured to what over $3,000 billion currently. And it has also been estimated that in the next 7 years, say by 2032, it will be about over $5,000 billion. And Africa has a share of about $160 billion at the moment. And it has also been said that 80% of intra African trade has been done via this haulage. Now, the most interesting thing about this is that the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development has posited that the haulage takes about 29% of the final price of goods that has been traded within Africa. And this is indeed a very big concern. Compared to the other part of the globe, say the developed countries, where the final price of product and services that has been traded is just about honey that's taking just about less than 10%, so to say, just about 7%. I mean, when you calculate the final price of the product of goods that are traded within other globe, honey takes just about 7%, less than 10%. But in Africa, it has taken about 29%, which is quite alarming. And you agree with me that this is a big concern. And that's why we have here with me a citizen logistician who is going to help us look into this very germane topic today. And we have a citizen logistician with me who has over a decade of experience managing more than 500 fleet vehicles across West Africa. He has successfully led large logistics operations for multinational clients, including Lafarge Africa, Flour Mills of Nigeria, AB InBev, and the Harvest and Budget Group, delivering efficient transport solutions across sectors such as fast-moving consumer goods, oil and gas, mining, construction, food, and agro. And he is no any other person than the founder and the director of operations at DLHS Logistics, in person of Mr. JIbril Deen, who will be dissecting the subject as titled Better and Efficient Approach to Haulage, both on small, medium, and large scale. So, Mr. JIbril, it's good to have you here.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here.
Okay. So, Mr. JIbril, there's one sensitive thing that we need to talk about. We all agree. I mean, the common thing that safety first, isn't it? Am I right? Can you
Yeah.
hear me, Mr. JIbril?
Yeah, could you please
Safety
repeat
first,
that?
right? You said what?
Repeat that. I lost you for a second.
Oh, I said there's this common thing that we all agree with, and it is always said that safety first, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Safety
Fine.
first and
Now,
always.
exactly, safety first and always. So if that is it, now let's look at it critically. My first question will go straight to safety, and that's the fact that now how can haulage companies curb environmental hazard alongside the accident that has always been, caused by your fleet? Can we have you
Well,
respond to that, please?
yeah, thank you for your question, Benson. In all honesty, it's quite worrisome because the objective of every haulage or logistics activity is to essentially deliver goods. But along the line, accidents are also part of the risk that are considered for anyone who wants to go into transportation or moving of goods from one location to another. So, on accidents, most accidents and environmental issues usually stem from one of the factors is vehicle condition, or you can also relate that to what we call maintenance culture, right? A lot of the fleets on the road are not properly maintained or do not have a proper maintenance culture in place, which leads to a lot of breakdowns. And in most cases, the worrisome part is cases of accidents. That's one factor. Then another thing is drivers' behavior, and a typical example is overspeeding. Overspeeding is also one of the big problem that has been causing a lot of accident cases where you do when you do root cause analysis for most of the accident cases we have in our environments today. You realize that overspeeding is one of the major factors that has been causing accidents. Uh, Additionally to drivers' behavior, we also have fatigue, or what we call the fatigue management. So fatigue is all about people who have been working for long hours without observing rest or a recess. So this is also one major factor. I mean, recently I've seen a lot of videos where some truck drivers, a particular truck driver was driving for hours, got fatigued, and then he slept off on wheel, eventually causing an accident. Thankfully, he didn't die, but of course, those things have implications on the business. They have implications on the environment, and essentially, they also have implications, in the bigger picture on the economy and the safety of the environment as well. So, the last thing I'll add is, journey management. Poor journey management or poor journey planning is also one of the factors that affect our environment when it comes to uh, accidents. So I think that it's important that companies must prioritize preventive maintenance, or what we in other words, good maintenance culture, and the proper use of journey management system. Every trip must be planned. Every trip must be monitored. And every trip must be closed out. So what the closing out simply means is that when you see truck operators or fleet operators, when they go on road, they shouldn't just be left alone. The businesses and companies should take it as a responsibility as part of protecting the environment and enhancing safety to make sure that those trips are closely monitored and closed out properly. Now, the second part of environment, aside safety, when you look at today, there is a gradual transitioning into cleaner fuels. For instance, the CNG, for instance, these days we see a lot of vehicles in Nigeria and also in the West African region that are transitioning to the use of moving from the internal combustion engines to the CNG engines, and in some cases, electrical vehicles. So this adoption of will also protect our environment by reducing carbon emission. We all understand that if you are the AGO and the PMS vehicles are always emitting a lot of carbon into the environment. So this transition of cleaner fuel will really protect our environment more rather than what we've been having. In the past. Finally, the major factor that stakeholders have to work on is drivers training. The conventional drivers training, or the mode of learning how to drive or operate fleets or vehicles has to really improved. So finally, I also believe that data-driven safety tracking system and the use of telematics to monitor speed, idling, and drivers' behavior will help us a lot when it comes to environmental protection and accidents.
Okay, thank you so much, JIbril. I was just about to take you on drivers' character, drivers' behavior, just as you have said, because you mentioned a lot of factors that has been responsible for the accident on the road, and possibly that has been the major thing that's been responsible that should ensure safety, which you talked about the maintenance of vehicle, you talked about overspeeding, you talked about drivers' behavior and what have you. Now, that will lead me, I mean, one way or the other, you have highlighted the next question I want to ask, but there's need for me to still ask so that you can be able to, expand more on it. This will lead me to my next question, which is all about how can technology play a very significant role in all this? Because if you have to monitor, how do you monitor a driver that is on the road while you are in your office? How do you monitor the driver's character? How do you ensure that the driver is not overspeeding? So please, can you just comment there? How does technology play a very good role in all this?
Okay, so basically, it's the use of what we call the mixed telematics, the GPS, and the use of mixed telematics. So, um, in today's business environment, of course, the usage of technology is very important. And in logistics or transportation, I'll put it, I don't think it's not something far fetched. A lot of businesses, modernized businesses today, they have what we call mixed telematics in place. And with mixed telematics, yes, there will be a team of people, at the office who have access to the driver's tracking system, and there's also what we call the driver's league. So usually a group of people or somebody is in charge of monitoring the driver's movement from the office with the use of the mixed telematics system. So there are different types of them. And some of the very good ones that we have in the market today, they also have features that monitors the driver's fatigue. With the use of AI, a lot of them I have worked with tell the drivers when it's time for them to rest. There's always an alert that they get. The driver gets that alert. The people at the office or the support team also gets an alert, indicating or informing you that it's time for this.
Sorry, JIbril, are you still there? Seems we have some glitches. And hello, JIbril. Yes, we have some glitches, but JIbril is going to come back soon. I'm sure he's coming back soon. Um, so, however, he's been able to take us on how technology play a very significant role in logistics, especially with haulage, which means that in a nutshell, this is expected that the haulage companies are expected to adopt technological advancement in running their businesses, just as it will be an advantage to delivery to their clients. I think we lost JIbril, but I'm sure he's going to get back. He's going to come back soon. Yes, we lost him due to the glitches, but I'm sure he's coming back soon. Yes, hello, JIbril. Yes, we lost JIbril, but he's going to join us back. However, uh, let's just look at what JIbril has said so far. JIbril has talked about this. Hello, JIbril. So he has made us see the importance of technological advancement in haulage, talking about the fact that there are applications that can always alert drivers when driver is fatigued. makes them know when to rest, when not to get work. Um, this also allows a support service from the office in which an officer from the office can monitor the behavior or the pattern of the drivers on the road. So this can also check over speeding. Um, this can also check maintenance because this can always give them a kind of reminder from time to time on how to. Uh, okay, I think we have them back here. Yeah, JIbril, sorry we lost you.
Yes, sorry about that. So I'll just pick it up from where it disconnected. So
Okay,
yeah, telematics essentially can help to monitor drivers properly while they are on trips. And the one key thing that I really want to advocate from my experience is that when drivers are being monitored, the training of these drivers should always come first before the monitoring systems are in place. So I have seen cases where this use of mixed telematics have actually improved the efficiency of the driver's behavior on road. As mentioned earlier, with the use of that mixed telematics system, that we can get more or better, or let me say improved driver's behavior on road, because these things are digitally and they can give instant reports to the supporting office from wherever they are monitoring from.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's taken. Now, however, with all you've said, this is all about technology. But you agree with me that, of course, we are before a global audience, but we have to be honest with ourselves. You agree with me that here in Africa, that I and yourself comes from. I mean, we still have a bit of challenge with respect to putting all this in place in logistics, and maybe that's one of the reasons why we still record high level of accidents and lack of safety within our road. So bringing this down home to Africa, say West Africa, Africa, Nigeria, that I and you are both citizens. Now, how do you think this technology can be enhanced or can be encouraged for haulage companies and even individual small scale businesses who are also into haulage and stuff like that?
Yeah. Thank you for that question. I think the most important thing there should be government involvement. There would only be improvement um, in terms of using technology for haulage and logistics firm, where governments has contributed and then uh, made it a regulatory system for haulage operations companies. A typical example, I know of businesses here in Nigeria today that operate with international standards. And with these
Okay.
standards, because the standards are part of or basic requirement for you to operate, in those businesses. So if you don't have those standards, or you've not qualified to be to get onboarded with those standards, you can't have businesses with them, right? So I think governments, or the West African government or Nigerian government, can also put that into consideration by setting up some policies that will regulate some of the fleet and haulage operators in the countries to abide and comply with. So with that, it makes it uh, a collective and uniform, rather than leaving individual businesses to take the initiatives. So I think the government has a huge role to play when it comes to that aspect.
Okay, thank you so much. Now, if you remember, well, while I introduced this program, I talked about the fact that the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development made a position, and that's the fact that they have a claim that 29% of the final price of goods in Africa, that 29% of the final price that haulage, African haulage, is responsible for that hike. I mean, compared to what is obtainable in other parts of the world, maybe the developed world, where they still maintain less than 10% at the end of the day. Now, what do you think uh, can be done to make this better? That's one. Now, the other aspect to this question is Now, looking at it from, because we've just talked about Nigeria, we talked about West Africa, we talked about the government trying to, put things in place to encourage, put some standard in place to make haulage a better business. However, what has been the challenge with respect to cross-border business, cross-border challenges with respect to haulage in Africa, so to say?
Well, I'll start by giving the background about the richness of the West Africa, especially Nigeria, the role that Nigeria plays when it comes to the West African logistics and the supply chain. Today, about within the country, that's Nigeria, about 80% of goods are moved by road. About 80%, which is quite a significant number. Now, if you take it further to some of the transactions that happen between Nigeria and the neighboring countries in the region, the West Africa region, the likes of Ghana, Togo, Benin Republic, Cote d'Ivoire, and the likes, right? One key thing that has been an impediment, even though I know that there's gradual improvements, one key thing has been poor infrastructure. And starting with poor infrastructure, the multiple checkpoints that we have, especially when you are crossing Nigeria, is I mean, is unbelievable. And these checkpoints, we cannot really say if we are getting accountability and transparency from the activities that's happened at these checkpoints, because it also leads to a lot of activities around inconsistent documentation, where you have long border clearance times, which are usually the biggest hurdle. I've experienced cases where some trucks, just to cross a particular border, spend 2, 3, 4, 5 days, at the border. So these are some of the,
3, 4, 5 days?
yes, just to
Oh,
cross
serious.
the border.
A
And
border.
like I said, yeah. So, and as mentioned, these are infrastructure issue. So most transport corridors in West Africa lack the standard logistics hub and rest areas. And relating to the point I mentioned earlier about, when I was talking about accident, due to the lack of, due to the absence of logistics hubs and rest points for truck drivers, most of them end up getting fatigued while driving, which increases the region's contribution when it comes to road crashes and non-compliance issues to safety. Right. So for me, the solution starts with regional cooperation. Rather than taking it from the top from UN, which is a very big body, I think there should be more cooperation within the region. Of course, we have ECOWAS. ECOWAS trade protocol must be enforced uniformly. Investment in border automation system and digital customs documentations will cut these delays. They will help in reducing these delays, and which also result to inefficiencies in the very long run. So I think that it's also important that we encourage fleet standardization and regional driver certification, which also is compliance across West African region. But today, some of those systems, I would say, are not in place, or even if there are, they are not sufficient to tackle the volume of logistic activities that we have in West Africa. So that would be my submission on that.
Okay, fine. Having said that, now looking at the fact that the African Free Continental Trade Agreement we can't say it's in the pipeline. Is in effect already, isn't it? Now, even though we've not had a full effect of it. Now, will you say we are ready? With all these bottlenecks that you've just listed, there's no border automation, there's no, all the regulatory bottlenecks that you have just listed. Will you say we are ready? And how do you think we can, what would be your suggestion to ensure that the African Continental Free agreement is being in full effect, will be in full effect?
Yeah, I think when it comes to readiness economically, the region is ready economically and in terms of resource. I'm talking of natural resources and the basic resource that we can get within the African region. But the problem we have, where I would not say we are fully ready, is when it comes to standardization. We are not standardized to the point where we can say that this agreement will work seamlessly. And additionally, since the agreement is already has been effected, I would rather say there is need to expedite the use of automation. There is need to expedite some of the inefficiencies that we have in place. There is always room for improvement, and I believe if we take these things seriously and we believe that they will help the trade within the region and also the economy. The government should be able to set up some bodies that can work on this within a short period of time to enhance the efficiencies on that agreement.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Now, you agree with me that every businessman who is doing an international trade, maybe cross-border trading, we always want and has to deliver goods. We always want to adopt the haulage system because of the fastness, because it's all. I mean, you can easily deliver goods on. I mean, within by the road or either through the train and stuff like that. Now, but yet the concern of an average or even everyone who wants to transact or deliver goods within African borders or across border is safety. So what will you say that haulage companies can do to assure their clients of paramount safety? And then this will also bring me to this aspect of insurance. I mean, how much has insurance played good role in this? What is the disposition of the haulage companies to having efficient insurance that can cover for the goods or cargo that has been transported? That take for instance, if I want to give you a good some good to transport for me, the first thing that will strike me is what's the safety of my good and what's the insurance that is on ground? Can you please, respond to that? Thank you.
Again, I'm going to start answering that with the first statement you made when we started the session, which is safety first, and I added by saying safety always. Right?
Always, yeah.
To be honest with you, what we see in the region today, or specifically in Nigeria, when it comes to road safety, is appalling. To be very practical and honest, it's quite appalling because the culture we have when it comes to safety is not commensurate to level of transaction or the the volume of logistics activities that we have in Nigeria. When you look at our safety hasn't even gotten to, if I want to rate it personally, I'm not sure it has even gotten to 50%, you know,
So we
to
should talk, we
compensate.
should say that in the orientation, that a lot has to be done on the orientation about safety. Isn't it? Is that not what you're saying?
Yeah, there's a lot still needs to be done. I know that the Nigerian Federal Road Safety Corps, they are playing their role, they are doing what they can, but there's still very massive room for improvement, especially uh, there is need for learning from the international standards when it comes to safety. That's one way I believe that there's need for more collaboration. That's one way I believe that our safety standards will improve together with the government policies on haulage operators. Now, to the most important question on insurance. Insurance is, companies are investing millions and billions of, of amount when it comes to insurance, because this is also one part. And another worrisome thing is to also realize that even the insurance companies are also, are worried because of the level of or the amount of claims they have to settle. So, firstly, what we can, the measures that needs to be put in place by haulage companies or fleet operators to guarantee cargo life and safety, especially on cross-border operations, are the first one. I think there is need for strict journey and risk assessment before dispatching these goods. And why I'm saying this is because I don't think the goal will be achieved if we put the whole load or the burden on insurance only. So what I mean by journey risk
Okay.
assessment before dispatch is these haulage companies should understand or should be mandated to have a system in place to plan their journeys. And what I mean by that, there are cases I've experienced cases where drivers, or let me say fleet owners who assigned their truck drivers or haulage drivers to move goods from Nigeria to, let's say, Ghana, where you have to like cross the border between Nigeria and Benin Republic, cross Benin Republic and Togo, then before getting to the final border of Togo and Ghana. That's like three borders you have to cross. But what you see most times is the drivers who are, carrying out these activities do not have a good system in their companies, or the companies do not understand or know that there is need for proper journey management in place. So what happens if the guy just picks up the load, let's say from Lagos, let's say somewhere in Trade Fair, he hits the road, gets to Cotonou, maybe in 3, 4, 5 hours, depending on traffic situations. No any monitoring system in place. There is no any form of communication of sharing feedback to the office to say this is the situation. So the guy goes on that journey completely. Let's say the turnaround time for that journey, let's say 2 weeks, right? Let's say 2 weeks, just an assumption. So the fleet or the asset is out of the base for good 2 weeks. No contact, nothing happens until he returns. So that's where the issue of journey management and the use of mixed telematics
Correct.
comes in. Then, secondly, the trips are not profiled to what we call route risk. So, what you see in most of this conventional transportation system is the drivers are left to take decisions on the road without a proper support system. So, when the guy moves, he's deciding on what route to fly. And these are some of the risks. So what happens on those routes? Some of them go to see their families. They go around to carry out their own, unapproved or unauthorized by the company transactions and all of that. Idling, posing risk on the road for other road users, a whole lot of issues like that. So the risk, the journey management system is one of the key things before we even move to insurance, right? That's
Okay.
that's a better, efficient way. I think that we can have less issue when it comes to insurance. Now, speaking of insurance, if you employ the escort system, a lot of the companies use what we call the escort system, where you have a group of people or two personnel or three personnel that escort their fleet operators
Good.
during these journeys. Even with that, insurance has always been um, like an alternative to fleet operators to say, oh, I'm only doing this simply because when there's an accident, I can take care of my goods. Now, for me, I think it's super important that all of these things should not just be issue of a document just to pass to say, oh, do you have insurance? Yes, I have insurance. They show a document and then they go. Those insurance are not comprehensive. Like what we see on our
Exactly.
local roads, people just have insurance. This insurance cannot even get any claim. They just get the document of the insurance and they call it the third party insurance. And when anything happens, all they just have to do is say, oh, I have insurance, but it doesn't really, it is not able to,
To be
secure the
effective
use.
when there's
Exactly.
accident.
Yeah. So those two things, the asset insurance and the GIT, what we call the goods in transit insurance, should be mandatory requirement for fleet operators, especially for not especially for cross-border country, but for all fleet operators in the country, regardless of whether it's goods or it's passenger, because that's another thing. The passenger
Exactly.
transportation system don't have the life insurance and all of that. So for me, I think it is very important that the insurance companies should do a lot of collaborations more, or let me say the government, the fleet operators, and the insurance company needs to have more orientations for people to understand why insurance shouldn't just be a requirement to pass a certain stage, but should be part of the cardinals of the businesses.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Now, having said all this, now I know you've once mentioned the bottlenecks that has been that every fleet operators are facing when it comes to the regulations that is on each borders, which has always been an issue with different governments coming up with very inconsistent regulation. Now, what will you suggest as a fleet operator and as a seasoned logistician? What will you suggest to ensure that there is a common regulatory system that can be so that that will be able to enhance trading across border? I mean, common regulatory system that each government of countries that are connected together by border or that will be connected together by trade should adopt in order to facilitate easy, trading operation. What's your take on that?
Okay, yeah, thank you. For me, it's quite simple. My response to that is quite simple, even though I know that the cross-border policies are quite complex, right? But why I say it's quite simple is, first of all, we have the ECOWAS, which unites all the West African countries together, right? So I think it's important to take advantage of that body and then that set policies that will be uniform for fleet
Exactly.
operators within the region to operate. So, for instance, if you are to operate in Nigeria today, or let's say in Ghana, you should have certain, and I'll give you an example. Here in Nigeria, for you to drive out of Nigeria, what we call the international passport. If you have a local passport, you can go to the Federal Road Safety and convert it, based after the assessment, into an international passport, which you can drive, globally, not even just the West African region. If you have that
Definitely.
the driver license, if you have that driver license, you can drive, anywhere in the world with that Nigerian international driver license. So that's an example of some of the things that can be done uniformly to say we have a particular system in place, and this, or let's say an insurance for you to operate within the West African region. You're moving from Nigeria to Ghana, from Ghana to Cote d'Ivoire. This is the requirements, the insurance type you should have, right? Fleet owners should be mandated to have those type of insurance. With that, it reduces the bottleneck of goods in transit, not having the proper insurance, and also gives that uniformity for the cross-border logistics transactions.
Okay, on a last note, in as much as every trader or every business person we want to engage haulage to transfer goods all across Africa or all across borders, so to say, we all understand that this is still quite expensive compared to other sources. Like, take for instance, going by sea. We understand that the road transport is still quite high in terms of cost. Now, what will you advise that can check or curb this rate of high cost with respect to haulage? Yes.
Okay. There's serious fragmentation of road policies. That's number one. And the non-harmonization of these policies are part of the issues that um, affects the efficiency of this the transactions in the. Hello, can you hear me?
A little bit. I hope you still have it there, Jibril.
Okay, your volume is so low. Sure.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Benson, are you there?
Yes, yes, I'm there. Can you hear me? I can hear you clearly.
Okay, yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, fine.
Okay. Could you please take the question again? I think I missed the
Yes,
point.
I was saying that despite that every business person who is trading across border, especially say across African borders, which are closer to each other, and we always want to, transact via haulage because of the fastness in delivery to clients. Now, but despite that, we know that it is still quite expensive, compared to some other mode of transportation which may be safer in terms of sea transport. Now, and despite that, you will discover that most of the trade are still being done by haulage. Now, what will you advise that can at least bring down the price of this haulage in a way that the after effect on the economy will be better? Just like we said earlier on, that this determines, it's responsible for the 29% of the final price of product. So it means that if haulage is affordable, is cheap, then the price of goods will also be cheaper. So what will you advise? What will be your own suggestion to make this work in a way?
Okay,
Did you get my
so
question?
my first suggestion to because one of the reasons why the road or the haulage um, service is quite expensive today has to do with inflation and also the cost of things, right? Cost of
Okay.
items in the country, most especially for fleet operators. There's one of the biggest costs they have is fueling. That's fuel and some of the spare parts that they use, right? So I have seen an improvement in the Nigerian environment when it comes to the step towards reducing the cost of fuel. And so which is actually like a dual or multi-purpose strategy. That's the transition of PMS and AGO vehicles into CNG and LNG, which are quite cheaper. If you're very familiar with this, for instance, the CNG, it's way cheaper than the diesel they have in the market, right? With about 180,000 naira or 200,000 naira, you can fill up the tank of your truck, which will cover up to like 600 kilometers with the use of CNG, which is cheaper than diesel. That's one strategy. Number two is in order to reduce the burden or the workload on road transportation, there is also need for investments in the rail sector. I've not seen too many rail sector within the cross-border transactions. It's more of, just like you said, because of time and other factors. Everybody wants to move their goods on road for easy delivery and all of that. But if you go to advanced countries, you see that the rail, for instance, or the use of train have supported in moving of in the movement of goods and even passenger transportation a lot, which has reduced the burden on the road transportation sector. Yes, I agree that the sea delays a little bit because of time, and also when you consider the air transportation, which is faster but also very expensive.
Very
My
expensive.
final conclusion on that or suggestion would be there is need for more investment on the rail and train sector and means of transportation, rather than just because there's a lot of investment going on in roads. So I would say there's need for more investment on the rail or train transportation.
All right, thank you so much, JIbril. It's good to have you. Thank you so much for your spare time to educate us and give your very honest suggestions and advice in improving haulage business across border within Nigeria and globally as a whole. Thank you so much. It's nice having you, and we hope to have you once again. Viewers, thank you so much for being here, and then we also advise that you take time to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button so that you can get updated of our latest upload from time to time. We hope to see you again next week as we come to dissect topical business issues. Thank you so much, JIbril. It's good to have you. See you again. Cheers.
All right. Well done. Well done for the initiative. Well done.
Thank you so much, JIbril. Yeah, bye.
Yeah, bye.